So you haven't submitted your tax return. Oh my gosh, you are going to face tax penalties and fines. Will you need to sell your house? No, actually, they are not that severe. Check out this video as I explain why sometimes it is okay to file your tax return late. Hi everyone, my name is Simon Misiewicz from Optimise Accountants. I'm here to grow your wealth whilst reducing your tax liability. Let's check out the Wheel of Fortune tax position of late filing penalties. What will happen if you submit your tax return late? Well, most people think it's a scary subject and that you're going to be exposed to a tax investigation. Actually, that isn't true. The tax investigation lottery, if you like, in terms of collecting who's going to be investigated, isn't based necessarily on the fact that you've submitted your tax return late. So quite honestly, I wouldn't worry about it from that perspective. But we do need to know how much tax you are going to be paying. And have you worked it out yet of how much more tax you will pay because you have not sat down with a tax advisor? Now, of course, when we talk about tax returns, we are going to be looking at over our shoulder, looking at Facebook, LinkedIn, and what other people are doing about their tax returns. And there is something I like about this slide. It talks about the fear of missing out. Am I missing out? Or are there things I don't know which I'm not taking advantage of? Or is my accountant actually telling me all the things I should be doing? Well, in the payments on account and the late filing of penalties, we are going to talk about that. But if you're concerned about your tax position, then you need to speak to us at Optimise Accountants. You can book our call time using the code U225 to get a 25% discount. Do you need to file a tax return? Now, if you're late, you're late. But if you are not sure if you need to file a tax return, check out the video that is appearing above my head right now, also in the video description. If you need to register for self-assessment, well, if you're watching this video in January, a little late, I have to say, but there is a video to help you do that, again, appearing above my head or in the video description. So when is tax due? Let's have a look at when things are meant to have been done. So the tax year end is the 5th of April, and that's when the tax year will start again on the 6th of April. You would need to have submitted your tax return by the 31st of January the following year. The tax due will be based on your taxable income, so you'll do a number of calculations. And then finally, there is a payment on account as well for the following tax year, depending on your situation. So in this particular slide, I want to point out the fact that you will have this £100 penalty if you fail to submit your self-assessment tax return by the 31st of January. That late filing penalty will increase to £10 per day, which is a lot of money once you start stacking this up. Those £10 penalties is from 3 months of filing your deadline. So this is the 31st of January, so count 3 months forward. So you have February, March and April. From May, basically 3 months onwards, you will start to pay this £10 daily penalties until you submit your tax return. And if you fail to do that beyond 6 months, then they'll look at the whole picture and say, hey, it's now August. We want to look at this penalty of £300 plus this 5% tax due. It gets worse because you get this additional tax then liability of another £300, which will be then levied upon your account, plus an extra 5% of the tax now, which is the higher. Okay, so it is the greater of these two amounts. So it's either £300 or 5% of the tax due. And they will estimate it to give you the maximum tax liability. Now, before I conclude on this particular page, this £100 penalty, yes, it's £100. And it can be annoying. However, is it worth you submitting a tax return that you know is correct whilst accepting this £100 penalty? My answer is sometimes yes, because psychologically, if you file something that you know is wrong, instantly you just think, am I going to be investigated? Now, there isn't any evidence to show that's the case, but the fact that you submit something that's wrong could HMRC say, well, they've got it wrong in your mind? It's not always true, by the way. So, but rest assured, psychologically, it might be worth getting it right so you can just settle down, even if it's February, March, and just say, it's done. I've got a £100 penalty, but you know what? I know it's right. Rather than people that delay, and go through all these needless tax penalties. So if you have submitted your tax return, we know that there is a penalty. But what about late payment? Well, if you've paid your tax return late by 30 days, you will pay this extra 5% tax. So they will look at your tax liability, let's say it's £10,000, and they'll charge you interest of £500 because you've paid your tax late after 30 days. And this goes back to my point on the previous slide. If you accept that you're late filing, so you file in February, then you know you're going to get this £100 penalty, but at least you know your tax return is going to be right, and you will not pick up any interest charges on the late payment of your tax liability, because you hopefully will do the same thing on the same day. If you want to know more about penalties and how HMRC approach this, then there is a link below this video, so please go ahead and read that. So what are your options for late filing? Well, you can accept it and pay it. I'm talking about the £100 fine. Sometimes, like I say, it's better to feel that you've done it and you've done it right. Or on your tax return, you can tick this button called provisional. And submitting your tax return and the payment of that tax allows you to get away from the late filing of £100 and any overdue tax that you might have. Now, bear in mind though, that these are provisional numbers. It is tempting to submit a provisional tax return and then leave it. The problem is you are putting your hand up like this. Yeah, that's my hand up, going up, just in case you didn't know how to put your hand up. And you're saying to HMRC, hey, my numbers are provisional. It's worth investigating me, especially if you have not gone back and amended your tax return to be final and complete. And that's sometimes more dangerous than paying the £100 penalty for late filing. So instead of 31st of January, you don't submit it or put in provisional numbers. And in February, you are comfortable with the numbers that have been submitted. That's done and dusted. You've got a £100 fine. That's fine. But what people might do is in December or January, they might put in provisional numbers and say, hey, I've submitted my tax return, and then completely forget about it. And then eventually, yes, that's me knocking on the table, but it does imitate HMRC knocking on your door, which basically means that they could investigate you and then ask for extra tax to be paid, which you weren't expecting. The big thing I would say for anyone is plan ahead. Make sure that you learn for the following tax year. If you're self-employed or you've got property, use QuickBooks and Xero to make sure that you forecast your income and your expenditure on a monthly basis. People who submit their tax returns, I sometimes wonder if they've got a handle of how well their business is actually performing. And would you drive your car without looking at the speedometer? Well, some people might, but you know what I mean. You wouldn't want to do that. And therefore, I wouldn't suggest that you run your business that way either. So we talked about penalties, but there are so many other aspects of tax that you need to be aware of. So it's a good idea to book a call with Optimise Accountants. Please don't think about the price of booking our time or our services. Think about the cost of getting it wrong. If you want a tax consultation with us, use the code YouTube25, and there is a link appearing above my head to book our time right away. Don't forget that you can press this like button if it's been useful. But equally, if you are wondering about your tax return or not sure what to do, then please feel free to leave a comment and I will make sure I get back to you. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, my name is Simon Misiewicz from Optimise Accountants. I'll see you again soon.